The galaxy had forgotten them. 40,000 years was enough time to erase a species from memory, to turn their myths into dust, their monuments into nameless ruins floating among cold stars. The galaxy's historians spoke of them only in whispers, if they spoke of them at all, calling them the vanished, the bold ones, or simply humans. No one knew why they had gone silent. Some said they burned themselves out in wars of fire. Others claimed they had ascended, leaving behind flesh and matter. A few believed they had been wiped away by something older, darker, something that still lingered in the void. But in the end, the galaxy moved on. Civilizations rose and fell. Empires spanned spiral arms and crumbled into ash. And humanity remained silent. Until the day the ghost returned. It was seen first at the edge of the galactic rim, a shape like a blade, blacker than space itself, gliding through the void without a drive signature. The old records named it the ship that walked the stars. It bore no flag, no transmission, no crew. Yet where it passed, sensors failed, comms went dark, and the stars themselves seemed to shudder. And in its wake came a whisper, carried on subspace. "We are awake." The rim colony of Halvorsen Station was quiet that night. Commander David Mercer stood alone in the observation deck, staring into the endless expanse. His reflection stared back at him from the reinforced glass, tired eyes, gray-streaked hair, the posture of a man who had seen too much duty and too little peace. He wasn't supposed to be here. Halvorsen was a listening post, a relic of old frontier wars that had ended centuries ago. These days, it was just a waypoint for prospectors and a magnet for smugglers. But tonight, every alarm on the station had gone mad, and Mercer couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. "Commander," a voice crackled over comms. It was Lieutenant Aaron Hayes, his second in command. "You need to see this. We've got. I don't even know what we've got." Mercer turned. "On my way." The control deck was alive with tension when he arrived. The crew clustered around the sensor pit, their faces pale and eyes wide. "Talk to me," Mercer said, his voice steady despite the weight in his chest. Hayes swallowed hard and pointed at the display. "Something just dropped out of FTL at system edge. No signature, no transponder. But it's... Commander, it's huge. 2 kilometers bow astern, maybe more. And it's not broadcasting." The display showed a black silhouette against the starfield. Its shape was unlike anything Mercer had seen. Sleek, predatory, a ship built not for exploration or transport but for war. "Have we tried hailing it?" 3 times. No response. Mercer stared at the thing on the screen. Somewhere deep in his memory, a name stirred, a half-forgotten story his grandmother had told him about the old days, about the species that once ruled the stars. "Put it on visual," he ordered. The image sharpened, and the crew fell silent. The ship glided toward them, silent as a phantom. Its hull was scarred, ancient, yet impossibly intact. Strange markings ran along its flanks, glowing faintly, an alphabet no one recognized. And yet, somewhere deep inside, Mercer felt a chill of recognition. "It's broadcasting something," Hayes whispered. Mercer's head snapped toward her. "What?" "Not a message. A pulse. Low frequency. It's hitting every channel, like it wants us to hear it." The pulse came again, resonating through the deck plating. It wasn't just sound, it was felt. Like a heartbeat. Like something alive. And then, for the first time in 40,000 years, a human voice spoke across the stars. It was male, deep, and calm, but carried with it a weight that pressed against the chest. "Halvorsen Station. We have returned. Prepare yourselves." The room froze. Hayes's eyes went wide. "Who is that?" she whispered. Mercer swallowed hard, unable to tear his gaze from the spectral ship on the screen. "That," he said quietly, "is humanity." The calm went dead. The ship turned, its engines flaring once, and in a blink it was gone, vanished into FTL as suddenly as it had appeared. But its message remained, echoing through the hearts of everyone on Halvorsen Station. They hadn't just seen a ghost. They had seen the herald of something far greater. The news spread faster than light. By the time Commander David Mercer was summoned to testify before the Galactic Council, every major world had already heard the transmission. The mysterious ship had been sighted in 3 other systems since leaving Halvorsen Station, always silent, always watching. It left no destruction in its wake, but its presence was enough to shake the spiral arm. Some called it an omen. Some called it a threat. But all agreed, whatever it was human. Mercer stood in the vast council hall, its arched ceiling glittering with artificial starlight, and tried not to feel small. Delegates from 100 species filled the tiers around him, scaled, feathered, silicon-bodied, gaseous, crystalline, some so ancient their civilizations had seen stars die. All of them watched him now, eyes unblinking, as if he held the key to the storm that had suddenly descended on the galaxy. Commander Mercer, the presiding arbiter, said, its voice a soft chime in the echoing chamber. You were the first to see the vessel. Describe it. Mercer's throat was dry, but his voice was steady. 2 kilometers in length. Black hull, scarred but intact. No drive emissions. No heat signatures. No known transponder code. It wasn't just a ship. It felt alive. Alive? A ripple of murmurs moved through the chamber. Yes, Mercer said, choosing his words carefully. When it broadcast, we felt it through the station. Not just our instruments, through the floor. Through our bones. Its voice was human. Ancient, but human. A delegate from the virile Dominion hissed through a vocal slit. Impossible. Humans vanished 40 millennia ago. No records remain of their technology. No species survives that long without contact. They do, Mercer said quietly. Or they did. And now they're back. The chamber fell silent. A tall, 4-armed diplomat from the Council's core world spoke next. Commander, what exactly did the voice say? Mercer hesitated. He remembered the weight of those words, the strange certainty they carried. It said, we have returned. Prepare yourselves. This time the chamber erupted, voices in a dozen languages rising at once. Some shouted for defense fleets to mobilize. Others demanded negotiations. A few, very few, spoke of reverence, of prophecy fulfilled. The arbiter's chimes cut through the chaos. Silence. Commander Mercer, your testimony is noted. You will remain in orbit under guard until the Council reaches a decision. Mercer bowed slightly and stepped down. He knew what that meant, house arrest in all but name. They feared him, or rather, they feared what he represented. The last human in known space, bearing the first human message in 40,000 years. That night, alone in his assigned quarters aboard the Council spire, Mercer stared out the viewport at the bustling planet below. The capital world glowed like a jewel, threaded with orbital traffic. But all he could think about was the black shape of the ghost ship, gliding silently through the void. It hadn't attacked. It hadn't demanded surrender. It had simply spoken. Prepare yourselves. For what? The door chimed, breaking his thoughts. Mercer frowned. He wasn't supposed to have visitors. Enter, he called. The door slid open and a woman stepped inside. She wore no council insignia, no security crest, only a plain travel coat and a satchel slung over her shoulder. Her dark hair was cropped short, her posture unhurried. But her eyes burned like stars. Commander Mercer, she said softly. We need to talk. Mercer's hand hovered near the console to summon security. Who are you? A friend, she said. Then, with a faint smile, and like you, a human. Mercer froze. That's not possible. I'm the last. You were the last, she corrected. Until now. She reached into her satchel and withdrew a small object. It looked like a smooth black stone, but when she touched it, it lit with symbols Mercer didn't recognize. The air in the room seemed to hum, like the pulse he'd felt on Halvorsen Station. This is a key, she said. The ship you saw, our ship, is waiting. And it's not done yet. Mercer felt his pulse quicken.
You're telling me there are more of you? That this ghost isn't just some relic?
It's not a relic, the woman said.
It's a messenger. It came back to wake us up.
Mercer stepped closer.
Wake who up?
She met his gaze.
Humanity. All of it.
The floor seemed to tilt beneath him. For so long, he had carried the weight of being the last of his kind. And now, in the space of a heartbeat, everything had changed.
Come with me, the woman said.
If the council finds out what I am, what I carry, they'll bury it.
They'll bury us.
But if we reach the ship first.
She let the sentence hang. Mercer took a long breath.
He had sworn to serve the council, to keep the peace. But this was bigger than politics.
Bigger than duty.
All right, he said.
Let's go. They left under cover of darkness, using service corridors and maintenance lifts to bypass the council guard.
The woman, she called herself Dr. Lena Ward, moved with practiced ease, as if she'd done this before. By the time anyone discovered Mercer's absence, they were already aboard a stolen courier, burning for the edge of the system. As the stars stretched into FTL lines, Mercer leaned back in his seat and let out a long, shaky breath.
So where are we going? Lena's fingers danced over the controls, locking their course.
To the place where it all began.
To meet the ship. And then?
She looked at him, her expression unreadable.
Then we find out why it came back.
Mercer stared at the streaming stars and felt, for the first time in years, the stirring of something he had thought long dead.
Hope.
The stars were cold and endless when the ghost appeared again.
One moment, the courier was alone in the void.
The next, the black shape materialized out of FTL, silent and impossibly massive, blotting out the constellations. Its surface glowed faintly with alien light, its markings shifting like living script.
Commander David Mercer felt his breath catch.
Even after everything, after the council chamber and Lena's revelations, seeing it this close was like staring into the face of a god.
It's beautiful, Lena whispered beside him.
The ship turned toward them as if it had heard her. Then, without a word, a docking bay yawned open in its belly, lined with pale light.
They're inviting us in, Mercer said.
Not they, Lena replied.
It's.
Mercer swallowed hard and guided the courier toward the opening. The moment they crossed the threshold, the stars winked out.
Gravity shifted.
Their systems powered down one by one until the console was dark.
The ship had them now. The docking bay was cavernous and silent.
Mercer and Lena stepped out into a space that looked grown rather than built, smooth black walls curving like the inside of some colossal creature's ribcage. Pale veins of light ran along the floor, pulsing faintly, leading deeper into the ship.
Lena touched the wall.
The glow brightened under her palm. It remembers us, she said softly.
Mercer frowned. Remembers? This isn't just a warship, Lena said. It's alive. Biomechanical. Part machine, part something else. When humanity vanished, they didn't just leave behind ruins. They left guardians.
Mercer followed her along the glowing path, his boots echoing in the silence. The air felt charged, like a storm was waiting just beyond the next breath. They came at last to a vast central chamber. At its heart stood a column of light, stretching floor to ceiling. As they approached, the light rippled and a figure stepped out.
It was a man.
Or rather, something shaped like a man, tall and broad-shouldered, his features smooth as if sculpted from obsidian.
His eyes glowed faintly blue.
When he spoke, his voice was the same one Mercer had heard on Halvorsen Station.
David Mercer. Lena Ward. Welcome. Mercer felt every muscle tense. What are you?
The figure regarded him calmly.
I am the keeper. I am the voice of this ship, and the memory of your people. I am here because it is time. Time for what? Lena asked.
The keeper's gaze seemed to pierce them both. Humanity's long silence was not an accident.
40,000 years ago, we withdrew from the galaxy. We saw what was coming, empires rising, civilizations warring, and we chose to wait. To sleep. To prepare. Mercer's stomach nodded. Prepare for what? The keeper's expression did not change. For the enemy. The chamber darkened. Images filled the air, holograms of stars burning, fleets shattered, worlds consumed by something vast and formless. It moved like a shadow, devouring light. It is old, the keeper said. Older than the first suns. It comes every 50 millennia, sweeping the galaxy clean. Your ancestors fought it once, and barely survived. They left their worlds, scattered among the stars, and built us ships that could remember, ships that could fight. When the time came, we were to wake them. Mercer felt a chill run down his spine. And now that time has come. The keeper nodded once. The enemy is stirring again. The galaxy is not ready. Its empires squabble. Its fleets are weak. But humanity is ready. You are the first to answer the call. Lena stepped forward, her voice steady. Then what do we do? The keeper turned to her. Take command. Awaken the others. Lead them. Mercer blinked. Lead them? There are others? Thousands, the keeper said. Hidden on worlds long thought dead. Waiting for the signal. You are their key. The column of light pulsed, and Mercer felt something brush his mind like a door unlocking. He staggered, gripping the railing. What did you do? Linked you to the fleet, the keeper said. You are now its commander. Mercer's heart pounded. He was just a station officer. He had spent his career patrolling quiet borders, breaking up smuggler fights. He wasn't a fleet commander. But somewhere deep inside, something stirred, an old instinct, something that felt both alien and familiar. Lena put a hand on his shoulder. David! Look! Outside the chamber, through a newly revealed viewport, Mercer saw them. Ships. Hundreds of them, dark and silent, drifting in a hidden cradle of space. Each one shaped like the ghost, each one waiting. God, Mercer breathed. No, the keeper said softly. Not gods. Humans. Hours later, as the ship glided back into open space, Mercer stood on the command deck. Lena was beside him, her face lit by the glow of the consoles. The fleet was awakening, one ship at a time, their hulls flaring to life like stars being born. The calms lit up with voices, human voices, calling out across the void, speaking languages Mercer didn't even recognize but somehow understood. It was like listening to ghosts rise from their graves. What happens when the council finds out? Lena asked quietly. They'll panic, Mercer said. Some will try to fight us. Some will beg for help. But it doesn't matter. He turned to her, his expression hardening. We didn't come back to conquer. We came back to save them, whether they're ready or not. The ghost's engines flared. Around it, the newly awakened fleet formed up in perfect silence, their black hulls gleaming. Mercer reached out, feeling the connection between them like a second heartbeat. For the first time, he understood what his ancestors had built, not just ships, but a legacy. A promise. Send the signal, he said. Lena smiled faintly and pressed the command. Across the galaxy, buried ships would awaken, sleeping colonies would rise, and humanity's long exile would end. The keeper's voice echoed one last time through the deck. It begins. The fleet leapt to FTL, vanishing into the dark. And far across the galaxy, in places no one had dared to look for millennia, the enemy stirred. The stars seemed to hold their breath. Humanity had been silent for 40,000 years. Now, they were awake. And they were ready.